Mr. Hill, how are you this morning?
Hey, Brian, I'm doing great. Appreciate being on your show.
Well, thank you for coming on, and we want to thank you. We want to just say to you, because I just was talking about it, thank you for respecting the viewers. Some candidates that don't come on miss the fact that they're not disrespecting me or my producer. They're disrespecting the voters. So don't take that wrong, but I appreciate your wanting to talk to the voters. Let me come right out with this, Mr. Hill, and I did watch the debate yesterday, but I want to start with what the dark money, as I call it. Now, for some reason, my mailbox, and you can't see these at home, but my mailbox is full of these couple pieces here that are really attacking you. And who is this group coming after you, and why are they so afraid of you running against Casey Cagle? Are you aware that this political action committee maybe friends Cagle's campaign, or what?
So here's the deal. It's not even a political action committee. It's Casey Cagle's campaign. And so Casey made the determination, obviously, that he does not want to be in a runoff against me. He wants to be in a runoff against Brian Kemp. And so if you'd observed the debates and if you've seen your mailbox, there's no attacks at all against Brian Kemp. There's only attacks against me because he would prefer to go against Brian because he deems Brian a weaker candidate to beat in the runoff. So, Cagle has $7 million and he spent $5 million of that money on himself, promoting himself, and about $1 million beating us up. And my hope is the voters won't trust it.
All right, because this is coming from 3101 Buckeye Road, Suite 800, Atlanta, and this second one's coming from the same place. This is Casey Cagle's campaign. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's his headquarters.
That's his headquarters. That's where it's coming from. Okay.
And also, he came out attacking me with those same attacks that are on that mail piece, and those same attacks are also on a radio spot here in Atlanta on AM 750 with the same thing that are from his campaign. So, he's trying to make me seem weak on the very issues that we are very strong on.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a chance to answer these, because these are running around the state, as you well know, and stuffed in the mailboxes. I have them here. But, on the face of your website, I went to it last night just to refresh myself, and you do have Ted Cruz endorses you, and it says click here to continue. And many Trump supporters don't feel that Ted Cruz has yet to this day truly endorsed the president. What is the claim that you said Trump would be better than Obama? Would you like to really make a strong stand on if you support the president and if any of these accusations on these flyers are true?
Yeah, let's hit the Trump issue first. I'm a strong supporter of Donald Trump and have been from the beginning, and this is important for people to understand. I endorsed Ted Cruz in the presidential election. So the Facebook post that he's talking about is very simple. It was in the fall of 15, and I asked voters to consider the things that people say during elections. They should take it with mixing the entire record of their life. And what I was basically saying is Obama, we all knew, was a horrible liberal, but he campaigned as a moderate in 2008, tricked the voters, and won. And what I was saying in the fall of 15 was Donald Trump had been pro-choice. He'd been adamantly pro-choice. He had been all these things. And all I was saying is we need to make sure that you don't just listen to people during the campaign, but you look at their record and their history. That's all the Facebook post said. I did not say Trump would be as bad as Obama. That's a freaking lie. What I said was that we need to look at the person's entire life, not just what they're saying during the campaign, because the last time we didn't look at the entire life and we listened only to the campaign, we got Barack Obama. So I endorsed Ted Cruz in the presidential election. But then one more thing, Brian, this is very important. I endorsed Donald Trump in a district that Hillary won that Hillary had won 56-39. I won re-election in my district, but my point is my district was moderate, but I still endorsed Donald Trump, even knowing that it was going to be potentially electorally detrimental to me. But I did it because it was the right thing to do, and I passionately believed that a Donald Trump presidency would help save the country, and a Hillary Clinton presidency would ruin the country. So I endorsed Donald Trump publicly in the fall of 16. And on Ted Cruz has already endorsed Donald Trump's 2020 election.
Okay, I did want to give you an opportunity, because these are solid. Well, I don't want to say solid. Sorry for poor choice of word. These are very large, big attacks that a lot of money has come out against you, and there must be some reason they don't want to run against you, Mr. Hill, and that's obvious. Saying that these came from the Cagle campaign, Brian Kemp, every candidate got a chance to ask a question, and Brian Kemp asked you a question last night that I'm not going to say you did not answer, okay? So I don't want to imply you did not answer, but I do want to, I guess, a better answer or more direct, okay? He said, what was it like to serve under Casey Cagle in the Senate? So this guy right here that you say his campaign has sent out these hit pieces does not want to run against you. What happened in the Senate? What is it he knows about you that he doesn't want to run against? Or what is it you know about him? So let me ask that question again for me that Kemp asked you. What was it like to serve with Cagle in the Senate?
Well, what I said, I thought I did answer the question.
No disrespect. I don't take that wrong. I'm not implying you didn't, but I want to more direct.
No, that's fine. I'm happy to do it again. I mean, bottom line is this, to be very simple. Weak, tepid leadership or lack of leadership, and weak on ideology, weak on the things that we care about. You know, unsuccessful in pushing through religious liberty for a second time. Unsuccessful in lowering taxes. In fact, he raised taxes on House Bill 170. It was the largest tax increase in Georgia history. I voted against it. So he did not cut the budget. He did not look for ways to make it a more limited and focused government. So I was just uninspired by the lack of leadership and the lack of vision, and that's why I decided to run against him. But specifically, what was it like is experiencing, if the listeners have ever been in an organization where the leadership was weak, then it's not a fun place to work, because you're not inspired on a daily basis to follow weak and tepid leadership. So that's why I said, look, if this is supposed to be the next governor of Georgia, then I have something to say about that, and I wanted to cast a strong, conservative, and bold vision. If I had been inspired by Casey Cagle, I would have gotten behind him and endorsed him. And that's why I got behind David Perdue, because I was inspired by his leadership and his vision. And so I was the first elected official in Georgia to endorse David Perdue.
Okay, eliminating Georgia state income tax. You say over 7 years. Let me set this up, and then you can take off with it. Casey Cagle implied, and I don't have a quote, but he implied that you're eliminating the state income tax would double sales tax double sales tax on senior citizens and certain groups, but it would be good for your Buckhead friends, but it would senior citizens and I forget the other group he put in there. But you said this is a complete lie, and explain what he asked you and what you called a complete lie, and tell us how your tax. You said something about a rebate or a prebate for seniors. So explain that to us and why you feel the question he asked was a complete lie, or accusation he made.
He made accusations that are not in line with our plan. So he was taking all of the fears around elimination of the income tax and leveling them against our plan. But we know to eliminate the income tax, I've got to get this thing through the legislature. And we knew that many of the areas that he brought up would not pass muster. And so we left them out. We're not going to raise taxes on seniors. We're not going to raise taxes on those that are less fortunate, that are not bringing in high incomes. But here's the thing here's what we are going to do. We are going to expand the base of taxation, which means more people would pay in. And what that allows you to do when you have broader base, you're able to bring in the same amount of money with lower rates. It's the same thing. It's a math problem, of course. And if you have 10 people giving $1 each, or if you have 20 people giving 50 cents each, that's the same amount of money. So the point is that we have a broad base of consumption, but on seniors that are currently not paying income tax already, we have a prebate. Just like in the fair tax plan, there's a prebate. So the amount that we're raising taxes on consumption, we're actually going to go ahead and give that back to seniors and those on a fixed income that aren't currently paying income tax in Georgia. So that's our plan. Now, why is this a benefit? Why do we need to do this? When investors and people that create jobs and upward economic mobility for a community, for a state, they're going to move to places where their capital and investment is treated the best. And in Tennessee, there is no income tax. So if I want to create economic development in North Georgia and in that part of the country, I would much prefer at this point to start my business in Tennessee instead of North Georgia. Same thing in South Georgia. I would rather start my business in Florida than in South Georgia. So it has an economic drag, our current system, if we don't address the fact that we're one of the highest income tax states in the country and that we are bordered with 2 states that don't have an income tax.
He continued to argue that, to say that we are the lowest tax, Georgia, and what I think voters get confused about, Mr. Hill, even with your campaign and his or whatever, is we can all go to different magazines and somehow find different statistics, and that's confusing.
Well, this is important. Let me help you with this one, because
okay,
he's right in saying that we are the lowest per capita tax state in the country. But listen to how they do the math, the tax foundation. They take in the total revenues that are coming in from the state, and then they divide it by the people in the state. Well, if people are not paying taxes, they're still included in that number, in the, to sound a little wonkish, in the denominator. They're in the one that's being divided by. But what I want to do is spread that out over a broader base. Okay, so everybody's paying less. Okay, instead of making only the job creators and the people that are driving the economy up, they're paying the lion's share of all that taxes in a high income tax situation.
Okay, Mr. Hill, I appreciate it. We're trying to give every candidate about 15 minutes. Go ahead and take a minute if you want to close and tell us about how you're wrapping up your campaign today in Georgia. So I've got to move on to another candidate, sir.
I completely understand. Listen, we want to fight for the conservative values and principles that made our country the greatest in the world. I'm the limited government governor that's going to eliminate the income tax, elevate K-12 education, and really cut the wasteful spending so that we can focus on the core competencies of government and start to deliver results for taxpayers. To be very quick, I'm a taxpayer champion and want to do what's best for the taxpayer. The other candidates in the race are more traditional Republicans. They're more moderate than I am in that way. We have to address long-term entitlement spending in this country, and I'm going to be the conservative that takes that fight to the establishment so we can drain the swamp here in Georgia and move our state forward. Brian, thank you for the opportunity to speak to your listeners.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. We appreciate it. We know you got a busy day, so we wish you well. Thank you very much. Okay,
VoteHunterHill.com.
Okay, we've been talking with Republican candidate also for Governor Hunter Hill.